Hey guys, welcome back. It's Claytano. Thanks so much for tuning in as always. In today's video, we're going to be talking about which summoner is the best one to choose when you're first starting out and why. And we're going to go over all the different skills, different elements, and everything that goes into your main character. But before we get into today's video, just one thing that I need to say. I probably need to make a promise to you guys and myself as well to stop summoning off camera, off stream, or whatever, because earlier today, I was like, I'm just going to pop like 40, 50 scrolls, a couple legendaries, see what happens. I ended up getting 4 or 5 stars, and I'll just show them to you guys now. And I feel like I have to keep doing this because my first summoning videos were so bad. But the ones that I got, so I got Bastet yesterday on stream. I also got this Fire Chilling. I got Rakan, and then I got a dupe Tessarian, which is nice because I need skill ups for Tessarian. He's actually coming along pretty nicely. So anyway, no more summoning off camera. I will do all my summons for you guys to see them because these raids are pretty fun. They're actually getting much better than I originally thought they were. So happy about that. But all right, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. So the first character we're going to be taking a look at is Orbia. It's the one that I chose to start off with because she's a mage, she's a ranged champion. I don't know, I'm so used to League of Legends talk, but she's a ranged champion, and she is a damage dealing summoner. So the way you want to think about these characters is like another addition to your team and someone who can actually really make a huge difference. Like, this should be your best unit in your team, always. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about that in the first place. And if you guys were like me and a lot of people that I've been talking with, you probably didn't even look at like what all the different skills did for the character that you're playing, let alone the character that other people are playing. And honestly, they're extremely helpful. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through each skill, each element. I'm going to do it on camera so you guys can watch this while you're playing on the side, because let's be honest, it's not really easy to, log out, make new characters, stop progression, all this other stuff. So first off, we're going to be taking a look at Orbia. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead into here for your character. You don't have to do this along with me. I'm just going to do it. But you go into skills, click on enhanced skill, and you can take a look at the skills right here. You can switch between the different elements, and then you'll be able to pull up what each one of them does. So I really like the fire element for Orbia. Again, she's a damage dealer, and a lot of the skills on the fire tab are mainly focused on adding dots or damage over time, fire, burn, whatever you want. That's what this is for. So it pairs really nicely with my Tessarian because Tessarian, does more, dots as well, and then she does dots if there's dots already on it. So let's start off with the basic attack. Attacks the target enemy with fire attribution. Nothing crazy here. This is just your main basic attack. Other elements for Orbia actually have some different things that go along with them, which is kind of cool. So the first skill here, this is one of 4, including the ultimate, is going to attack the enemy and nearby enemies by firing 3 fire shots in a row. The last hit applies additional burn with a certain chance if the enemy already has burn. Per hit, 65.1%. This is, of course, leveled up a little bit. And so basically you're just burning with a chance if they already have burn. That's why I said this is important to know, because if you're going in there and just tapping 1, 2, 3, the first skill isn't going to be as effective as if you were to go in and hit 2, 3, 1. So what 2 does, this skill 2, fires flames to attack enemies within the area 3 times and applies resistance down and burn with a certain chance. So resistance goes down, you apply burn, and then it actually makes your other skills easier to land because the resistance is already down. And then since it has a chance to burn, then you can burn with skill 1. Skill 3 here creates a storm and explodes it to attack enemies within the area 4 times. Each hit has a certain chance to apply burn, and the last hit applies bonus damage based on the enemy's burn level. So that's why I said go in there, hit number 2, and then go 1, add more burn, and then go 3, because the damage is based on the amount of burn. These are really important things to know. I know they're kind of boring, but really, like, your macros are actually really important. And I know it's not something that a lot of mobile gamers are used to, learning macros, but it is something that you guys want to pay attention to. And then of course, just your ultimate drops a huge fire meteor in front of the in front to attack enemies within the area 5 times, and each hit has a certain chance to apply stun, deals damage that penetrates the target's defense to enemies below a certain HP ratio, and deals bonus damage to creatures. So all of her skills on her fire wand are AoE, and I'm pretty sure that's the same across the way. There's just slight nuances to the different abilities, which we won't go over every skill in depth. We'll just look at the different nuances, so that way it kind of saves you guys a little bit of time. So that's the fire wand. When you switch over to use a different wand, let's say a water wand, it has a whole completely different, effects that land. So again, you're just attacking with water attribute. The first skill is going to target nearby enemies by firing ice shots. Last hit freezes enemies within the area with a certain chance. So instead of a burn, it's a freeze. It doesn't actually, I don't think it does damage. Yeah, it just CCs them. So it crowd controls them, locks them in place. That's it. No burn, no damage. A lot of this water wand is geared towards CCing, which it's really not reliable. It's unreliable is the word I'm looking for. So I tend to use the water wand the least amount out of everything. Skill 2, summons an iceberg on the ground, attacks enemies within the area 2 times. Last hit extends the duration of CC effects on enemies. So this one is actually opposite. You want to start with 1, potentially freeze, go to 2. Let's see what skill 3 does. Creates a storm and explodes it to attack enemies within the area 4 times. Deals increased damage to enemies with CC effects, and each hit has a certain chance to steal the enemy's summoner's mana. So again, now you want to freeze first or CC with one of your monsters. Again, treat your champion as it's one of your monsters and really build your team around the champion that you're using. I know there's a lot of people who are clearing content in the game with they're either the warrior or the support girl, and it's a completely different game style based on your main summoner, and I just can't stress that enough, and I'll probably say it again later on in the video as well and explain it more. But for this one, you want to go 1, chance of CC, 2, extends the duration of CC, and then 3, deals damage based on enemies with CC effects. And then of course the ultimate, huge water meteor in front to attack enemies within the area 5 times, and each hit has a certain chance to apply freeze. So you could start with this as well. Deals increased damage to enemies with CC. You're not going to start with the ultimate anyway. You, most of the time, don't have it up right away. But again, good thing to know. It's a lot of CC. It's CC reliant. So if you're really focused on using your water wand, maybe you add some units who are going to CC your opponents for your monsters instead of going with like a Tessarian who's going to land burn, and if there's already burn on the target, it actually makes it easier for the fire wand to actually work out. As far as the wind wand, let's take a look at this. So attacks the enemy target with wind attribute. Okay, no difference there. Skill 2 is going to attack the enemy by firing 3 spheres in a row, deals bonus damage on the number of harmful effects on the enemy, and applies attack down. All hits deal damage to enemies in the target area as well. So again, another AoE, but it does damage based on the amount of harmful effects. So this is really good for world boss. This is the one that I use when I'm fighting like the event boss. Number 2, attacks enemies within the area by dropping a lightning bolt 4 times from the sky and applies defense down with a certain chance. So defense down is a debuff. You're going to want to use that before you use skill 1. Skill 3, creates a storm and explodes it to attack enemies within the area 4 times, applies damage taken up to enemies above a certain level of defense down. So you want to go defense down, then 3, then 1. That's going to be your rotation on your wind wand. And then it drops a huge meteor in front to attack enemies within the area 5 times, and each hit has a certain chance to apply stun. So stun is great. It's another, what's it called? A harmful effect. So you'll do more damage. But again, the ultimates are, for me, are kind of niche because it depends on the monster. It's connected to the monster. If you use your ultimate with the monster that's souling to you, like it's the one that you can use the skills on, then it's going to use the ultimate skill from that monster. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let's say we have a Tessarian. He's got this ultimate triple crush. That ultimate triple crush is linked to your ultimate. So whenever you use that ultimate, you also trigger Tessarian or whoever you're using as your soul link to use their ultimate as well. That's why there's no cooldown. It's as soon as you use your ultimate, he in tandem will use it with you. So you can go in, ultimate, use his skill or use his ultimate, then use your ultimate, and then he'll basically ultimate twice. It's kind of cool. They have slightly different effects most of the time. So just something to keep in mind while you're going throughout the game and using different strategies. But let's go back into the info here and take a look at the last couple of skills before we move on to the next summoner and again talk about which one you guys should be choosing. And really, I mean, this is kind of going to be a guide as well as you guys can really choose any summoner, really. Too long didn't read, but you can choose any summoner, but just understand what he does so that way you can, get the most out of what you're doing and not have, not look at other people who are using certain monsters. They're using a completely different summoner and being like, why can you clear this dungeon and I can't? I'm using the same monsters. My power level is higher than you. Doesn't make sense. Having a good understanding of the different main characters and why they work will help you understand your main character and what could possibly work for you. So the light one is really good. I use this all the time when it's specifically something that I need to have an extra strip for. So this attacks the enemy by firing 3 light spheres. Same thing. Applies crit rate up to herself. All hits deal AoE damage. Skill 2, it has a strip on it. So applies block beneficial effect if the effect is successfully removed. It removes something and then blocks it. It's just one buff though. I don't know if you can skill it up and it does multiple. No, it doesn't. So it can only be used up to 2 consecutive times, which is fine, but it only removes 1 buff, which is kind of like so-so, and you can't really tell which one it's going to remove, so it's a little unreliable as well. It's just like an extra little bonus. This creates a storm and explodes it to attack enemies within the area 4 times, deals bonus damage based on the target's current HP to enemies without beneficial effects. Okay, again, we understand that. Drops a huge light meteor in front of to attack enemies within the area 5 times, and each it has a certain chance to apply stun. Okay, another stun. I think all the ultimates stun if I'm not mistaken, or they at least have a chance to stun. So that's light. It's not my favorite one. Again, it's just for the strip mostly, but outside of that, it's kind of lackluster. And then the dark, that gets unlocked at summoner level 60, which I just got to. And so I was reading these skills, and that's what kind of prompted me to make this video, because this one is actually pretty cool. Again, attacks with the dark attribute, but skill 1 is going to do the same thing, 3 dark spheres, but it's going to recover HP by a proportion of the damage dealt and applies accuracy up to herself, and it does AoE damage after that as well. So it actually drains 50% of the damage of what she's dealing out as HP. Like, that's kind of OP in my opinion. For sustain, depending on what comp you're using as well. It's kind of cool. The skill 2 also has something similar, but it summons the power of the universe to apply drain to herself. And if you guys don't know what drain is, you guys can click on this little icon right here, and it says drain recovers HP based on the damage dealt. Level 1 drain is just 20%. Drain to herself, you can see it's level 1 drain. Even if you skill it up, it's still level 1 drain. So it's always going to be level 1 drain to yourself. Has a certain chance to apply res down and move speed down to enemies within the zone. And yeah, nothing changes other than just the percentages and stuff like that. Dark Storm, your skill 3 creates a storm and explodes to attack enemies within area 4 times. Each has a certain chance to apply poison. So this is kind of like burn, but slightly different. And so it's nice because you have damage, you have recover, and I think dark is going to be like the one that I use the most because it has like kind of a good mixed balance of everything. However, I'll still probably use wind on bosses or on world bosses because of all the different harmful effects on it, and I'll use fire on like Chaos dungeons and stuff, so it'll have the burn effect. But if we take a look at the poison percentages, so poison takes damage by a certain ratio of its max HP every second. And so level 1 poison, which this is level 1 poison, is 0.7% of the target's max HP every second. We'll take a look at burn real quick in a second, but this recovers HP by a portion of the damage dealt to enemies with a certain level of damage over time, and deals bonus damage to creatures. So this also, yeah, also has a chance to apply stun. So again, another recovery HP by a proportion of the damage dealt with a certain level of DOT. So I wonder what it means by DOT. I guess it'll just do damage over time to the enemy, but it doesn't say whether it's like a burn or a poison or something. So I'll have to test that out a little bit more. But so 0.7% for poison. And if we look at the burn rates, so like what's better, poison or burn? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So burn is actually going to be 1%. So burn's actually better, but because you have that OP health regeneration from the skills, it makes it, I guess, a little bit less. You can't be burning everything. But that's Orbia. Okay, so Orbia, she honestly, I thought she should just be kind of like I was just focusing on my monsters because as a Sky Arena player, that's all I really had to deal with previously. But if you think about your champion as one of your monsters, it'll actually really help you out because there's some people who are saying like Orbia sucks. She doesn't have any of the, sustainability. She doesn't have the, the awesome things that these other champions or main characters have. But what she does have is a ton of damage. And if you know that, then you instead don't build a damage dealer, you build supports. And I kind of said that in my selective summon video of what monster you should select. It's based on the main character that you chose. But what I do want to talk about as we switch over to my other character to show you guys the skills, something super important for you guys to know is that, well, first to switch characters, you don't have to log out and everything like that. You just go to your menu here at the top right, you click on this arrow and you change summoner, and that's it. And then you just go back to login screen and you can see I have my wonderful Orbia here. You click on choose summoner at the top left, and then you could just make the other character. And guys, when I tell you that this is part of the game, that you actually don't just have to pick one summoner, it's huge because you get so many benefits from actually building the other ones. So definitely build the other ones. You're going to have to build the other ones eventually. So if you get stuck in the game, why not try out some other summoners? Make sure you're still doing your other quests and stuff and progressing as you should, using your invites on your main character because, the one that you started with, the highest level one, because, those are gated. You only get so many of those, like Chaos Dungeon tickets, Path of Training or whatever it is, right? Use those on your main character, but then come back here and level up your sub character because you can actually get all the same rewards from your campaign and your side quests all over again, just on your sub character. And the awesome thing about this is, yep, you get all of your units to use while you're playing through the story for a second and third time when you build Kina. So it's super good. And then the other thing too is yeah, you get all your rewards, you get some of those the quests. You have all of the rewards from your area exploration. Again, 300 crystals, a ton of gems. So yeah, if you guys get stuck in the game, want to try out a different character, use all the same units again. Definitely worth it. So hot tip right there, and it's fun. It's fun to see what else is out there. So all right, aside from that, oh yeah, also you get to keep your same name. So I was actually wondering like, oh, do I have to make a different character with multiple different names? But yeah, so let's just talk about Clef. Why Clef Jones? So again, click on this, go to your skills, go to enhance. And so even though I only have the water one unlocked, I think I have maybe the wind one unlocked too, but you can actually still go in here and take a look at the skills. So again, click on the fire one, and now we can go through Wyclef and see what he does. He attacks the enemies with the fire attribute. Nothing nothing crazy here, but it actually has splash damage. So that's one thing that Orbia doesn't have on her skill, on her basic attack, is splash damage. She has it on her skill 1. But so skill 1 for Clef, leaps to attack enemies within the area, destroying their HP and stunning them with a certain chance. Link skill is activated when Cleaf defeats an enemy. So if you defeat an enemy, your Link skill, which is your ultimate, gets applied, which is pretty cool. So skill 2 deals damage based on defense to its enemies within the area by swinging the mace 2 times. Link skill is activated when Cleaf attacks an enemy with a CC effect. So you want to CC. This is a stun right here, and then you're going to want to go to your second one after this, because if you stun them, you don't kill them, but if you stun them, then you can use skill number 2, activate your ultimate, right? So this is, again, the macroing, the rotation of different things. All right, and then we will go on to skill 3, unleashes the power of fire to apply continuous recovery to himself. So an HP recovery, deals damage based on its defense to enemies within the area, applies bleed, and provokes them with a certain chance. In addition, damage increases to enemies with unrecoverable. So I don't see that he does an unrecoverable, but it might be something that you want to build a monster with unrecoverable to applies bleed and provoke them with a certain chance. In addition, damage increases to enemies. If they're unrecoverable, he just does more damage. But he's not a damage dealer, so I wouldn't really worry about that. He's a tank. Like, he heals himself. He does damage based on defense. So when you're building your gear, you want to have gear that coincides with his skills. So if you know that he's not a damage dealer, he's not going out there to deal damage, you're not going to want to build gear with like crit rate. Again, it's like just having another monster. So really, really try to understand that you're building a tank and you want defense items, you want HP items, and then you build your monsters to kind of make up for that. Like, I think it's so interesting. I really do. I think it's so interesting, the whole concept and dynamic of this. It's really fun. And so this is actually my first time going through all of his skills. That's, again, why I wanted to talk about this as well. Just go through it on video and kind of think through it, and so you guys can understand my mindset of which one do I think is the best summoner. So water skill here, again, splash damage. And we have damage based on its defense, applies attack down and pushes them back with a certain chance, applies attack speed down to enemies with attack down. So it applies attack down and then could apply speed down as well if they already have attack down. Deals damage based on its defense to enemies within the area by swinging the mace 2 times. Link skill is activated with Clef attacks. It is activated when Clef attacks an enemy with attack down. So if they have attack down, then you use skill 2. So you use 1, then 2, then here 3. Unleashes the power of water to deal damage based on defense. So all of these skills are based on defense, by the way. And if you know, a lot of the times the bosses or the units that you're fighting against are always going to attack the unit with the highest defense. Not the highest HP, but the highest defense. And that is something that has gotten my Camila and my Vanessa in trouble many times. You have to understand that, like, a lot of the times they're focused on your defense, not necessarily your HP. So you, as the tank summoner, you want people to be attacking you because you have like all these different abilities that, help you tank. And your ultimate leaps, hits the ground, attacks enemies within the area, briefly airbornes them with a certain chance, applies attack down, attack speed down to the target, and deals bonus damage. So again, I think water is like kind of just like whatever. Like, already I would probably use fire over water. It just seems like it has more utility than water does for right now, but let's just keep going. We have wind, splash damage, skill 1, deals damage based on defense within the area, and each hit has a certain chance to airborne enemies already, okay, on skill 1. In addition, sends out up to 3 tornadoes and recovers HP by a proportion of damage dealt. So this is kind of like a lifesteal thing, which is pretty cool. We have skill 2, deals damage based on defense to enemies within the area, and applies electric shock. Link skill is activated if Cleaf has shield. So if you have a support unit like Bastet, and if you have a shield, then you're going to want to use the shield first, and then you're going to want to use this, because then you can apply electric shock. Or your link skill is activated, which is super helpful. Again, that's like your ultimate that's linked with your unit. Super, super good. Now, electric shock takes damage by a certain ratio of its max HP every second. We knew Poison was 7.7%. We knew burn was 1%. Electric shock is actually the highest one, which is 1.5% so far. Anyway, I don't know what else there is. Wind shield. Unleash the power of wind to apply defense up to nearby allies. Deals damage based on its defense to enemies within the area and provokes them with a certain chance. That's a provoke. That's sweet, actually. So this deals damage by defense, does a defense up skill. This has electric shock, does the link skill, and it has a lifesteal. So for me, this is pretty much the best so far. Applies defense up to nearby allies, and leaps mightily. Hits the ground to attack enemies within the area and briefly airbornes them with a certain chance. Deals bonus damage to creatures. Okay, cool. Let's go to the light one. I don't own this skill, so we're going to look over here. Attacks enemies with the area. Okay, light. And so this one deals damage based on its defense and applies blind and increases the damage if the target is provoked. So blind is a CC effect. Basic attacks do not land. So they're basically just whiffing. They can still use skills, but they don't have a basic attack. Deals damage based on its defense to enemies within the area by swinging the mace. Link skill is activated when Clef attacks a blinded enemy. So use skill 1 first, then use skill 2. Yep. And then skill 3, unleash the power of light to apply invincibility to himself. Wow, that's OP. And the team monster with the highest attack. That's even more OP. Deals damage based on its defense to enemies within the area and provokes them with a certain chance. So you have a provoke, you have an invincibility. So invincibility with provoke is nuts in arena, in a lot of different areas of the game, because you're basically taking all of the damage, and then you're saying that you're going to be invincible while you're taking the damage. Like, that's nuts. And then also, if you have a squishy unit like Theomars or something in your backline, and he's getting hit by something, you just pop your skill 3, and it goes invincible, and you don't have to worry about him dying anymore. And it gives you, another, how many seconds? 4 seconds of invincibility. What is this at max? 6.5 seconds of invincibility. A lot can happen in 6.5 seconds. Believe me, I know. And then your ultimate leaps mightily and hits the ground to attack enemies within the area and applies an irresistible stun. Wow. Deals bonus damage to creatures. That's very mighty. An irresistible stun. Okay. So far, I'm actually kind of digging light, especially for like arena. So I'm thinking Clef right now is going to be one of the best arena summoners so far. I think it's going to be much better than Orbia. Right now, everything's kind of like bruiser meta in arena. And especially if you can kind of like crowd control them to focus on your tankiest person, which is you, the main character, your Clef, then that's OP. All right. Last but not least, we have the Dark skill, and skill 1 is going to deal damage based on defense again, and applies crit rate down to the target and knocks the target down with a certain chance. Okay, great. Applies continuous recovery to himself if the target is provoked. So does he? Yes, he probably also has a provoke on his skill 3, but we'll get there. Skill 2, deal damage based on its defense to enemies within the area by swinging the mace. Link skill is activated if the target has crit rate down. So you want to do crit rate down. Well, actually, you want to do skill 3, because watch, you'll go unleash the target, unleash the power of dark to deal damage based on defense to enemies within the area and provokes them with a certain chance. The enemy with the highest attack within the area cannot resist provoke. So you will take the highest attack provoke no matter what. Unresistible skills are OP because there's nothing you can do to stop it. And because of that, this guy is like, it's nice to have a damage dealer with Orbia. Yeah, it's really good to have a damage dealer. But the utility, like, I can have a monster that does a utility. To find a monster that does stuff like this is that's not easy. So, to find a monster that does damage, yeah, that's easy. There's a ton of monsters that do damage. But to find a monster that does irresistible provoke, damage based on defense, and then you go from skill 3 here, you provoke them, and you apply reflect damage to himself and applies damage taken down to all other allies. So you're reflecting that you're provoking, you're reflecting damage back to the other person, and then you say everybody else is going to take less damage, returns a portion of the damage taken, stacks up to level 10. This is 15%. So at level 10, it's still level 1 damage taken down, but it's for 20 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry, level 3 damage taken for 20 seconds. Damage taken down is on your other units, so this is level 3. You're reflecting 21% of the damage coming in that you just provoked everybody in the area, especially the highest attack unit in on your opponent's side. They're provoked. Then you come in with skill 1, damage based on defense to enemies within the area, applies crit rate down to the target and knocks the target up with a certain chance. In addition, applies continuous recovery to himself. So you attack one of them. So you provoke them. You have everybody attacking you. You have reflect, and then you hit him with skill 1, and you gain continuous recovery to yourself, and you apply crit rate down to that unit, and then you hit him with a skill 2, and because they have crit rate down, then your link skill gets activated. Meanwhile, you're super tanky, you're doing damage based on your defense. This is OP, dude. This is way better than Orbia. I mean, I'm thinking for certain things. Like when I say they're better than another summoner, I'm thinking in certain situations that I could have used this over a burn. Is that what I have? I have a burn? I have leech life, but I'm not a tank. I hope that nobody's going to be attacking me. All right, well, yeah, so this is Clef, and to me, he seems pretty good so far. So, yeah, interesting. So I would say that Clef so far is a better unit, better summoner right now, just by the skills, the utility he brings, and trying to replace this unit with a monster is a lot more difficult than trying to replace Orbia with a monster. There's a lot of damage dealers. There's not a lot of units that can do stuff like this, and so that's where it kind of comes into play, where, okay, is this the monster, or is this the summoner that you should go with from the start? Potentially. Right now, I'm saying if you start the game and you're picking your selective summon, I would pick probably this guy over Orbia. I'm going to take a look at Kina's skills here in a second, but I would take this guy over Orbia for sure, and then I would get a damage dealing monster from my selective summon that can coincide and do the damage that I'm as a summoner not doing. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool skill set, especially the dark one. But the dark one you don't get to level 60, right? So you have to kind of understand that that's going to be a long way away. But I mean, you get the light one pretty early, and the wind one isn't bad either. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty nuts. Let's go ahead and switch over to Kina and take a look at her skills to get the final verdict on which one to start out with. All right, so I actually hadn't made a Kina yet, so I had to go through a little bit of a tutorial, but we're back here now and pulling up her skills. So for her, she actually is like a ranged unit. She throws her basic attack, yeah, from afar, which is weird because she has a big hammer. So that's something to keep in mind too. Clef, he was a, right up front and personal type of thing. Orbia, also ranged. However, her skills are not ranged, if I'm not mistaken. Well, they have range to them because they're like big hammers. Also, by the way, you can just come here and like use the skills and see everything that they do, which is pretty cool. And we can switch around. Maybe we should have been doing this the whole time, but anyway. Yeah, we'll stay here. So fire, we have strikes with the hammer to deal. Yes, we'll do the basic attack. So attacks the enemy target up to 3 times with fire attribute attack and applies energy of fire to itself. Energy of fire, what is that? Okay, I can't look at what it is, so we're going to go to this one instead. Because I can look at what energy of fire is. Oh, no. Energy of fire for 3 to 4 seconds. It doesn't tell me what energy of fire is. Does this tell me what energy of fire is? Based on level of energy fire. Energy fire. What is energy fire? I'm sure it's going to tell me inside the skills. I'm just not looking at it. No. Okay. We will read. Attacks the enemy target up to 3 times with a fire attribute attack and applies energy of fire to itself. When attacking, energy of fire for 3.4 seconds, unremovable. I don't know what that means. Okay. Skill 1. Strikes with a hammer to deal damage based on the level of energy of fire to enemies within the area 3 times. Applies burn to the target if Kina has level 5 energy of fire or above. Is it just like you're just like marking the target maybe? So it's an energy of fire, and then you do that with your basic attack, and then level of energy of fire of enemies within the area 3 times, applies burn to the target if Kina has level 5 energy or fire above. Seems like a lot. Raises the hammer high to apply attack up to nearby allies, and decreases the skill cooldown of team monsters. Wow, that's a nice skill to have. Swings her weapon to attack enemies within the area and pushes them back with a certain chance. This skill is not affected by other team members' skill cooldown effect. So this is, yeah, this is already, to me, like, skill cooldown effect. Okay, I think Kodamiya has something like that, but I don't think it's an AoE skill cooldown effect, if I'm not mistaken, because this already seems OP. Alright, skill 3, burns the enemy to attack 4 times and recovers HP of allies around the target. Applies invincibility to the ally with low HP. Invincibility is nice, burns the enemy to attack 4 times and recovers. So, burn. Does it actually burn? Attack 4 times and recovers HP of allies around the target. Okay. So it doesn't look like it actually burns the target, but it recovers 7.5% of the target's HP, and they go invincible for 4 seconds. So this is a nice, like, continuous healing thing. You can use your skill every 30 seconds, heal up 7.5% of the target's HP. You can decrease the skill cooldown of team monsters. Skill is not affected by other team members' skill cooldown effects. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Strikes with a hammer to deal damage based on the amount of... Okay, so a little confusing so far, but let's move on to water to see exactly how this works. Attacks the enemy target up to 3 times with the water. I'm assuming energy of water. I'm assuming it's just like a little... Like you're just tagging the monster with energy of water. But it says it's only attacking once. Okay. I'm assuming what it is. Within the area 3 times, applies frostbite to the enemy if Kina has level 5 energy of water or above. I'm assuming it's something like a tag with her basic attack. Raises the hammer high to apply attack speed up to nearby allies, swings her weapon to attack enemies within the area, and pushes them back with a certain chance. Okay, attack speed up by nearby allies. That's great. It's an attack speed up buff. Nothing crazy though. Recovers HP of allies. Applies attack speed up to allies below a certain HP ratio, and applies crit rate up to allies that already have attack speed buff. So if you go attack speed up, and then you go into your 3rd skill, then you're going to also increase their crit rate for 11 seconds. And that, I'm assuming, goes up quite a bit to 20 seconds. Yeah, so this is nuts. Crit rate up, by the way, gives, at level 10, it's 80%. Is this level 10 crit rate up? No, it's level 1 crit rate up. So 30%. 30% crit rate, that's a lot. That's a lot, especially if you're like playing with Theomars and he's, you know, just killing somebody. You just do this, attack speed up, and then you crit rate up, and they're just dead. They're just done. Okay, next. Wind. So far, I'm feeling like I made the wrong choice with Orbia, but we'll see. All right, energy of wind. Love it. Strikes with a hammer to deal damage based on energy of wind within an area 3 times. Applies electric shock to the target. Okay, we know what electric shock is. It's the damage over time. One of the better ones. Number 2, high. Accuracy up and remove a harmful effect from the nearby allies. Okay, it's a cleanse. That's nice. Swings her weapon to attack enemies within the area and pushes them back with a certain chance. It removes 1 harmful effect. Does that ever go up? No. So one harmful effect is nice, but it's not like a full team cleanse. But like having the ability to just like switch your weapon and have a cleanse versus like switching an entire monster to have a cleanse, that'd be nice. All I do is just damage and different types of damage. I have a strip. Okay, I have a strip. Orbia has a strip. Attacks enemies within the area to remove beneficial effects. She has a strip too. Okay, and applies res down if it successfully removes the effect, recovers HP of allies within the area, but her strip also recovers HP of, okay. Increases recovery given, has accuracy up, in addition applies immunity to team members. The skill just keeps going. Below a certain HP ratio. Okay. So she has a accuracy up, remove harmful effects, accuracy up, cleanse, entire team cleanse. She has a resistance down, remove beneficial effect, and apply resistance down. Recovery HP of units given has recovery given has accuracy up. In addition, applies immunity below certain. So there's a lot going on with this skill, and it's making me jealous. Uses powerful wind energy to remove all harmful effects on nearby allies. So this is a full team cleanse with everything. So, but this is your ultimate. So you don't really get the ultimate that often for me to be like, oh, this is OP. It's just you get it like once, but most of the time, any situation that you're in, if they're applying harmful effects, you cleanse once, you're gonna need to cleanse like in the next 4 to 5 seconds again. At least that's what I've found on like TOA and stuff. This pushes irresistible. Okay, attacks the enemy and pushes them with a certain chance. Pushes irresistible, deals bonus damage to creatures and applies accuracy up, and recovering HP of nearby allies 4 times. In addition, applies immunity to team members. Great. So lots of healing, lots of cleansing, lots of buff removal, lots of good things with the wind skill. Was not expecting all of that. All right, and then we have the light hammer, and this skill 1 strikes with the hammer to deal damage. Energy of light 3 times. Applies continuous recovery to the monster with the lowest HP ratio if Kina has level 5 energy of light or above. Okay, wait. Strikes with a hammer to deal damage based on the level of energy of light to enemies within the area 3 times. Based on the level of energy of light within the area 3 times. Oh, does Kina get the energy of light? Is that what I'm missing? Yeah, applies energy of light to itself. It's not even a mark. Okay, you guys probably already commented down below exactly what it was, but so she gets energy of light herself, and the more energy of light she gets, the more her skills can do. So she charges up basically, boop, 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 and then she, okay, makes sense. I get it now. Skill 2, raise the hammer high to apply recovery received up to nearby allies, swings her weapon to attack enemies within the area and pushes them back with a certain chance, recovers HP of nearby allies based on the damage dealt. So she gives recovery received up, and then she deals damage and recovers HP of nearby allies based on damage dealt. Interesting. Increases recovery received, stacks up to level 10. So it's increased 30% up of what she's healing. That's pretty nice. So pretty helpful. The falling light recovers HP of all of ally targets and applies continuous recovery. Applies additional continuous recovery if the target HP is below a certain ratio. Okay, so just a lot of recovery, a lot of health here going on. Uses powerful light energy to remove all harmful effects of nearby allies. Then she attacks the enemy, pushes them with a certain chance. This pushes irresistible, deals bonus damage to the creatures to apply continuous recovery after recovering HP nearby allies 4 times. Applies additional continuous recovery to the team monster with the highest defense. Okay, so it's assuming that the highest defense monster is probably tanking and needs some extra help. That's basically what's going on here. So this is just a lot of continuous recovery, a lot of healing, not really much else outside of that. So as much as I would love to say like this is OP, I still think the other, based on paper, I think the other ones are better. I think like wind, doing all the cleansing and stuff like that is much better already. And if I can go back to this, applies invincibility to the ally with low HP. Yeah, I think fires, like light is just like a lot of healing. So if you're not really in a situation where you need a whole lot of like other things, you just need sustain, light is a really good option for you. Okay, dark. Here we go. Number 1. Strikes it with the hammer to deal damage based on the level of energy within the area 3 times. Increases the skill cooldown of the target if Kina has level 5. Okay. Skill cooldown. Increases the skill cooldown of the target. Okay, so she basically like resets your skill cooldown. That's interesting because not a whole lot of monsters do that. Alright, number 2. Raises the hammer high to apply reflect damage to nearby allies. Swings her weapon to attack enemies with the area and pushes them back with a certain chance. Okay, apply reflect damage to nearby allies. Okay, so that's we know what that does, and it applies it to all of your nearby allies. Okay. Skill 3, sprinkle Stardust to recover HP of nearby allies, and additionally applies reflect damage if the target has the effect. In addition, revives a defeated team monster. Oh, it's a revive. If the revive is successful, consumes her own HP and increases the cooldown of Stardust. Decreases the skill cooldown of team members below a certain HP ratio. This skill is not affected by other team members' skill cooldown effect. That's cool. That's cool. Not a whole lot of monsters revive in this game, but not a whole lot of monsters revive. So to have a summoner that revives, that's pretty cool. It's weird that it's not in the light one though. Typically, revive skills are like, you know, light, water. On a dark one though, dark is typically more like, you know, poison. Interesting. Okay. On the last one here, uses powerful dark energy to attack nearby enemies and pushes them with a certain chance. This pushes irresistible, deals bonus damage to creatures, and consumes her HP as much as possible to revive up to 3 team monsters? So you can just bring everybody back. Revive 3 monsters with 30% HP at max skill. 3 monsters with 60% HP. And you take how much? Revive monsters, bonus hit, reduce the summoner HP by 20. You give up 20% to bring all of your monsters back at 60%. That's crazy. That's insane. So, okay. We've gone over all of these. All the different summoners, all the different skills, all the different elements. This has been a very detailed video of what everything does for every single summoner in the game and all their different abilities and the different kits that go along with it. Also, the convenience of being able to just switch from one kit to the next, depending on which one you need for that specific situation, is extremely useful to have a plethora of different tools at your disposal, because essentially what you are is a 5-element monster that you can switch between at a given notice for any situation that you want. Picture yourself like Kina is a monster herself, and she has all 5 different attributes, and she could just switch between all 5 of them, right? That's the mindset you have to be thinking of when you're looking at your team. Again, you can have a Kina with, you know, Shannon, Konamiya, and Fire Fairy is the other one people are building now, and be a lot more successful than somebody who's in Orbia. But an Orbia needs different monsters, right? Clef needs different monsters. So it's kind of interesting how the team comps are built around your main summoner. It's actually like super, super interesting. And when you start thinking of it that way, I think you'll be a lot better off, and you'll be able to understand like what skills to actually increase, what monsters to actually build. You get like 3 free resets. So if you happen to be building a monster that's not working out for you, like for me, I built a Camilla knowing that I was a damage dealer, but somewhere along the way, I forgot that I was a damage dealer, and I started bringing damage dealers into my team, where realistically, I could just bring all supports that only focus on me doing the damage, and I could do more damage than any other monster that I could possibly summon right now, because I'm a badass damage dealer. Orbia is a badass thing. I'm not. My summoner Orbia is a badass damage dealer, and she does a lot of it. So I really don't need to have a whole lot more damage. I just need to make sure that I stay alive long enough and protect my Orbia from, you know, whatever might be coming at me. And yeah, I can realistically use 3 tanks, 3 supports, 2 tanks and 1 support, and be perfectly fine. However, if you are a tank, if you're a Clef, You can't use 3 other tanks and be perfectly fine. You'll probably get timed out of a lot of situations. If you are Kina, you probably aren't necessarily going to be a tank, so you need a tank still, but you also need a damage dealer. So you need kind of like a mix of both, but you could potentially have 2 tanks and a damage dealer. You can have a tank, 2 damage dealers, and a support. You're the support, right? So is there one that's better than the other? I would say in terms of skills, skill set, ability to move to different classes or different elements with different abilities at a moment's notice for convenience purposes, and the skill set that could potentially be replaced by monsters or not, I think the rating goes Clef, Kina, Orbia in terms of being able to be replaced. Okay. Clef has skills that there are very few monsters in the game that possess. And so if you're trying to replace somebody like Clef as a tank, there's not going to be a whole lot of options, right? That's how you got to think about it. Kina has a whole lot of different skill sets and abilities that not a whole lot of monsters can replace. Orbia is just a lot of damage. Like there really isn't a whole lot of depth to her. And I'm sorry to say that, but I mean, if we look back at her skills while I'm talking here, there's not a whole lot of depth to her. She does, she does AoE damage on all of her skills. She does AoE damage on all of her skills, which is nice. Again, she's a damage dealer. She's a great damage dealer. But there's a ton of other damage dealers that are in the game. So replaceable wise, yeah, she's near the bottom. But let me tell you, she's a great damage dealer. Oh, also, when you get to level 60, you do get offered 7 more trans scrolls. I will not be doing that this time. However, you do get the option to go with more trans scrolls. But yeah, like just kind of recapping here, looking back at Orbia, she just doesn't have the utility that some of these other classes have, other than just damage. She's just damage. She does defense break, right? This one gives her a crit rate up for herself. But like, what if it gave crit rate up for the entire team? Like that would be, to me, it would be a little bit more useful, right? She doesn't she doesn't really do much. She just does damage. All of her skills are just based on damage, right? Again, it's a resistant down, burn, 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 burn. Oh, she does a stun, right? I think she has a stun. No. Oh, she has a stun on her ultimate. Yeah, so every 5 minutes, I get a AoE stun. Meanwhile, Clef has that on skill 3, or skill 2. I'm sorry, skill 2. And then he also has invincibility, provoke, HP up, defense up. Like, he's nuts. He is actually nuts. Yeah, yep. And also, the other thing too is the AI is super, super hit or miss. Again, it's unreliable. So if you're talking in terms of AI and you're going to attack a certain monster, boss, or whatever, being the melee unit attacking the boss and having your ranged units killing it, right, doing the damage from afar, you can soak all the damage, turn the boss away from your damage dealers, where if I'm Orbia and I have my tank taking the damage and I move to the right, it's very possible that my tank just moves in line with all of my other units, and then I can't necessarily control where my units are going. I have to like switch between F3, F1, and like whistle them over to me. It's a whole thing. Like, it's kind of crazy. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that's what I say. I would say the number one summoner that's the most irreplaceable in terms of skills, abilities, and everything else is Clef. After that, you have Kina, a lot of irreplaceable things, and then besides that, you have Orbia. And maybe I just haven't like really just dove into the fact that she's my damage dealer enough yet to say like maybe she is. Maybe she just does some insane damage that I just need to get to, and I haven't been really unlocking her true potential. I've been focusing on my monsters skills here, where if I just pumped my Orbia's damage, maybe that's what I need to do. So I'm gonna do some playtesting, guys. This video has gone on long enough. If you're still here, drop a comment down below saying I like Summoner's War Chronicles. I don't know. Say something else. Just say something. Don't say something. Don't just say actually something. Okay. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. If this helps you out, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Also hit the subscribe button. I try to make videos every single day. I haven't missed a day yet, which is surprising. But other than that, stay soupy. Don't be potatoes. Come stop by the stream, twitch.tv/Claytano. Those are for the real ones who are staying till the end as well. And aside from that, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right.